Hello one and all, this is Soulful Lordy, James Bullock, once again with another video game first impressions. This time around, Red Dead Redemption 2 for the PS4 and Xbox One. Now, this is obviously the sequel to the highly acclaimed Red Dead Redemption, but it's also a prequel to the story that we witnessed featuring John Marston. You play as Arthur Morgan, a lieutenant in the Vanderlyn gang. When it comes to the story, is the feeling of camaraderie and the impending and inevitable fall of it, especially if you've played the original Red Dead Redemption, because you know the outcome, you know how everything panned out, but thus far, a really telling and profound experience. I think it's one of the most human and realistic without reaching into satire and absurdity when it comes to an emotional storytelling aspect that a Rockstar game has ever produced. And that's only a few hours into the game. That's about 12 hours into the game. From a gameplay perspective, Red Dead Redemption 2 feels a lot like Red Dead Redemption 1. From the movement to the gunplay, even though one of the additions when it comes to gunplay is the cocking of weapons, you will not be able just to aim and shoot as in any typical third-person shooter. Instead, you will have to cock your rifle, you will have to cock your pistol, and then you'll be able to shoot. One of the most impressive and important improvements to me between these two games is the ability to ride horses. Now, you could ride a horse, of course, in Red Dead Redemption 1, but to me the handling was always a little stiff. To me in Red Dead Redemption 2, horse riding is a lot easier to grasp, easier to handle, and it's something that makes the long trips around this grandiose map a lot more enjoyable and a lot easier to handle and manage. The combat is pretty much on par with any Rockstar game, but a lot tighter, a lot more fluid, especially when it comes to blocking. If you block at a certain time, you can easily counter punches and stun opponents, and I really do enjoy the combat system. I think it's one of the best versions that Rockstar Games has put together in any of their games thus far. When it comes to mission structure thus far, I have seen some wild things. Besides trying to rob a train, to a literal mission built on Arthur getting drunk with one of the new recruits in Lenny. Like, it's one of the most hilarious missions I've ever experienced in a Rockstar game. These blackout drunk moments. When it comes to the world itself, and that's to me what's most impressive. This is the first open world game where I feel that it is a living, breathing open world. To me, this is the first one that I felt truly exemplifies that feeling. And the main reason for that is because of situations like you're going into town and a bar fight breaks out right in front of you. One of the more interesting ones that I came across was after a mission. I was coming out of this house and a man was riding on a horse and he was crying out for help. He needed help. He needed to go see a doctor. So I go over and pick him up. I see he's wounded, his left arm. And I take him to the doctor in the nearest town. And the doctor decides they have to amputate his arm. And I was just naturally assuming that they would have the animation stop after the doctor tells you to leave, that you don't want to see this, you have to leave. I stood and waited. And they literally go through the entire amputation process until the doctor finishes, throws the arm into a garbage bin, and tells me, well, your friend's going to be okay, you can leave now. I was amazed how real this felt. Like, I was just assuming, just like any other video game where the animations would stop at a certain point if they don't want you to see this, and I have not seen that moment happen thus far in this game. Outside of this living, breathing world where random occurrences can happen, you have set goals and set side missions and set opportunities like bounty hunting or hunting animals for food or even just for pelts for extra money. You have the ability to upgrade your campsite, your tents. One of the new additions also is the management of core systems, your health, your stamina, your dead eye, that can be replenished with food and certain items. Your horse also has these core systems that need to be managed, including maintaining your horse's cleanliness. I think one of the biggest flaws when it comes to this game overall is that feeling of having to do so much to do so little. For example, instead of being like, say, Final Fantasy 15, where you decide what you want to eat, you have to pick what you want, you have to tap one of the buttons over and over again until you fully cook it, then you have to tap another button to actually eat the meal. It's stuff like that that may be a little too intrusive and takes away from the overall gameplay experience, but I do understand exactly where Rockstar has gone with this. They are trying to make you feel immersed as possible in this world. The other issue I have with the game is the overall feeling of it being incredibly slow. When it comes to movement especially. Arthur for some reason walks really slow. Actually, a lot of people walk incredibly slow in this game. And it just feels like it adds unnecessary time and effort to get from one place to another. Beyond all of that, beyond those minor criticisms, because those are very minor, this is, to me, thus far, one of the most impressive games of this generation. It is one of those games that I truly believe will stand the test of time and will set a precedent when it comes to open world games, especially Rockstar offerings, that will take a lot of work to overcome. And that's not even mentioning the fact that they haven't even released the online portion of it just yet. So there you have it. This has been Soulful Lordy, James Bullock, with another video game first impressions. Red Dead Redemption 2 for the PS4 and Xbox One. Now, if you don't mind, I have some bounties to collect. Maybe even take a bath. But most importantly, I will save a young boy from a turtle cult. And once they realize just how good of a person Arthur Morgan truly is, they will say, from west to east, "Oh, Lordy."